Hi, my name is Kim. Welcome to Ubuntu Talks. Today we're gonna talk a little bit about cultural appropriation. I prefer the term misappropriation because appropriation means you take it on, but misappropriation is when you actually take it on, but then you don't pay tribute to the true meaning of what the original culture was. One of the things that's most popular is when, for example, everybody knows about Kim Kardashian and her box braids, and all of a sudden it's becoming something that's popular. Whereas this has been something that for generations upon generations, people of color, Black people especially, people of African descent have been doing this hairstyle, had all of these um, different traditions that they continue because we don't have straight dead hair. Um, what is cultural? The question of what cultural appropriation is really a deep one because within the past year and a half, people have accused African Americans of cultural appropriation. So, people from the continent, some people from the continent feel that African Americans are appropriating African culture. For me personally, I feel like it's more of an attempt to reconnect with their roots because when it comes to slavery, the entire history has been erased. We don't even have our own names. I am a Caribbean of Caribbean descent, so of African descent, but with Caribbean backgrounds, and I do have family that 2, 3 generations ago they were enslaved. Um, and the fact is that we don't even know our true name. So in order to connect to our roots, that like they have the DNA testing and all of that, and ancestry.ca and blah blah blah. But that's only going to tell you the region. It's not going to tell you which tribe you're from. It's not going to tell you which village you came from. It's not going to tell you the language you speak. So, in an attempt to reconnect and feel that there is a connection with something that's authentically from the continent, because once our skin is past a certain hue on our noses, a certain broadness in our eyes and everything like that, you can recognize that we're from the continent. Our hair, we're from the continent of Africa. And so many people try to reconnect with that, and I don't see a problem with it. But being of Caribbean descent, I can't speak for someone from the continent of Africa. I do know that I have African friends that are like, sure, no problem, it's all good. But then there are people who might feel that certain traditional dresses, certain jewelry might be used in the wrong context, and I can understand that. But um, if you take yourself out of the shoes of someone, out of your own shoes as someone who grew up on the continent, and put yourself in the shoes of someone who's for their entire life they have to live through racism. They're being taught that they're worthless. They don't know their history. They're perming their hair, bleaching their skin, doing all kinds of things to change who they naturally are, and just for a moment they want to feel connected with something or someone that is historically has like roots. They have roots there. So I don't know if cultural appropriation, or rather misappropriation, really applies when it comes to African Americans, because it's an attempt to go back to Africa, but they can't go back because they're American. You know what I mean? It's like you grew up in a country and a culture and you're used to it, and then someone says, no, 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 you got to go back to Africa. But then when you land in Africa, you don't speak any language. You don't have any direct family there that you know of. You might have like cousins 40 times removed, but you don't necessarily know the people. So you can't really go back into the continent and be like, oh yes, I'm African and I'm gonna come and live with you guys. Like Jamaicans, for example, particularly Rastafarians, there was a point in time when they wanted to do an exodus back to the continent, and there are countries on the continent that were like, no, you're not coming back here because, and it's bad. It's a stereotype, but they kind of thought that, you know, all of the Rastafarians would just come and just start smoking weed and just sit in a circle. But to get back to to get back to cultural appropriation, um, when I believe that when it comes to African people of African descent, it's more of an appreciation, and it's more of an attempt to reconnect with our roots than an appropriation and an attempt to like completely twist the meaning of what a particular sacred item means, or a sacred dress or something like that. Um, when it comes to say, for example, white people wearing dreads, or wearing or braiding their hair or anything like that, I don't have a problem with that per se. That, you know, do what you want to do. But the problem becomes when the media says that, oh, this is new, and this is avant-garde, and it's exotic, and it's like, no, we've been doing this for years. Um, there was a video that was circulating with a young lady, black woman, uh, kind of assaulting a white man who had dreads. And to be very honest, I was neither here nor there with the video. There was a part of me that was like, I understand why she's so upset, but then there's a part of me that's like, is he going around, for example, saying that he's Rastafarian and not actually practicing Rastafarianism? Or is he going around saying that he's the first one who did it? Like, we don't know. That video, we don't really have context. Like, she could have spoken to him about it previously, and he just was disrespectful for her. Anything could have happened before and after the video. Um, do I think she should have assaulted him like that? No, no, because it doesn't bring anything good for anybody. It doesn't show us as black people in a good light, and that's like something that we had to learn for a very long time about. That we have to be, what is the expression? We have to do work twice as hard to get half of what they get. So that means we have to work 4 times as hard to get exactly the same thing that white people have the privilege of getting almost without even blinking. When it comes to especially white people understanding what cultural appropriation is, um, under misappropriation. I think the term cultural appropriation is the wrong term. It's a misappropriation. It's taking it and skewing it, and then bastardizing what it originally was. Now, this incident with Marc Jacobs and the I believe it's the Bantu nuts, the Bantu nuts. Yeah. Um, the problem with Marc Jacobs is that I don't think he understands his privilege. Like, he may not have necessarily seen an African person with this style. It could have very well been a white person that he saw with this style, or he just had someone who learned how to do it, and they did the styles. But the problem is not acknowledging when people say to you, when a large group of people say, "Hey, this is from us." Like, could you acknowledge that it is from us? Because the truth of the matter is, white people have been taking black people things for a long time. They took away rock and roll. Rock and roll started with black people back in like the 20s. They took away so much of our styles of dance. They take everything, but then guess what? Black people make something new. You say, okay, you take that. All right, we'll invent something. Like, the latest thing is hip hop. They try to take everything else. They try to take away jazz. They try to take away blues. They try to take away everything, and then we just said, okay, no problem, take it, and we create something new. So the problem is always when you don't appreciate where it comes from. Like, for example, Eminem. He has always shown an appreciation for the fact that he is a hip hop rap artist. He shows appreciation. He lets people. He showcased black people who are in the hip hop community on his album. He makes sure that, you know, He lets people know that, this is not mine. I am using this as a vehicle to spread a message, but he doesn't like take it on and be like, okay, now I'm living in some kind of place where it's only white people alone listening to my music. Everybody can listen to his music, but he shows an appreciation for where it comes from. And that's all we're asking for. We're not asking for you to be like, pay dividends and this and that. We're just asking to be like, yo, this is where it came from. Appreciate that. And done talk. That's it. Just say, yo, this came from African people. I don't see what the big deal is. So when it comes to cultural appropriation, people often wonder whether or not it's only white people that can appropriate culture. I would say no, because everybody kind of takes a little bit of culture from everywhere else. But it's the misappropriation. Again, like appropriation versus misappropriation is when you take it and you bastardize it. Like the biggest thing in Canada especially, and I'm sure in the States as well, is Halloween. How many times have we seen a costume of a Native woman? It always has to be some sexy costume that's really not indicative of the culture nor paying respect to the culture. How many times do we see something about a sari or something about strapping on a bomb to yourself, and all of a sudden you're an Arab. Like that's total misappropriation, and it's total racism and disrespect to the culture. Just don't do it. Don't do it. No. So yeah, other people can appropriate people's culture. People of color can appropriate one another's culture. But the problem is that because of the history of white people raping, pillaging, violating people of color over more than 500 years, and even to this day, I mean, if you look at social media, every day there's another Black Lives Matter post that has to happen. Hashtag say her name. And so on and so forth. Another brother that's been killed, another trans family member that's been killed, Black trans family member that's been killed. This is constant. Another sister that's been killed. For what? For what reason? Mental illness. Oh, we don't know how to deal with it. Get out of here with that noise. Essentially, people need to stop taking other people's culture. Because of the fact that there's so much violence against people of color, and it's usually white people that are behind it. If they're not the ones doing it, they're the puppet masters. Because like when we see police, for example, we see black police beating up people of color, black people, indigenous people, and so on. They're not really, quote unquote, in control of their actions. They're kind of subject to the rule of their bosses, which is usually white, 1%er, rich people, supremacist ruling class that owns the police and controls the police. And they're subject to that. I mean, you expect them to know better, but the truth of the matter is they're just doing their jobs at the end of the day. So because of all of these historical factors, when a white person goes and takes something that is vividly and completely from the African culture, from the South Asian culture, from even Asian culture, it creates a visceral reaction. There's a book by Joy DeGreely called The Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And basically, we are reacting to the violence that has been propagated against us on screen by showing only thugs and violating black bodies, always killing the first person to die in a horror movie. If there's a black person in it, it's usually the black person that dies first. Like all of these things create little psychological damages in our brain. Not to mention the microaggressions that we're experiencing. Just yesterday, I was at a bar sitting. It was three of us. We were all black. We're watching the fights at night, and we all kind of ordered our drinks and already had food and everything. And we had finished eating, so we're not really buying a lot of drinks. We're not drinkers per se. So the bartender cleared off the most of the glasses, and then this white lady comes up and starts saying how to sit at the bar you have to buy drinks. I mean, we've been here for hours and we bought food and we bought drinks. What is your problem? We didn't say anything. We were just kind of looking at her like, bruh, get out my face. But like, these are the kind of and she was like trying to be all nice about it, but she was so oh, eh. So all that to say that when white people come and appropriate the culture, it creates a very violent reaction, because it's like, you guys have been doing this to us. You guys have been oppressing us for so long. And then you're going to take our culture, you're going to take something that intrinsically belongs to us and say that you invented it. You want to give me, I'll give you another example. Okay, you want another example. The filament in lights, the filament, the thing that the light has to go through and burns up, was actually created by a black man. The stoplights, the red, yellow, and green stoplights, those colors are not white. Those was invented by a black man. Those colors are like 90% of African flags are green, yellow, and red. And if you do your research, there's tons of stuff that have been appropriated by white people just because the black person couldn't afford to pay for the patent. That's it. Just a patent. A piece of paper that says that this belongs to this person. Complete violation of their trust, their ability to our ability to create, and it just continues. So now I think that we've gotten to a point where enough is enough. Social media. Social media allows us to have more access to the information. So they could get away with it back in the day when the internet didn't explode like an atom bomb in their faces, and you didn't have the internet in your phone. You just had calling and maybe text messaging if you were lucky. So now the internet has allowed us to view something that's happening all the way in France within seconds. It's allowing us to have access to information. Sometimes it's an over access. Like if you're on Facebook and people are posting, it can become almost harmful for you, because you're constantly getting these images and constantly being in a sense violated and having these violent moments from traumatizing you. But at least now we can say that we are aware of it and we can call it out. And you can send an email to this person. Like a lot of times, our friends on the internet are going to give you all the information so that you can really make an effort to start slowly bringing down the cultural appropriation, bringing down the racism, the misogyny, the bigotry, the sexism, all of that stuff. Cultural appropriation, misappropriation is wrong. Point barre, point à la ligne. If you do not come from that culture, don't misappropriate the culture. And if you claim to be an ally and you're wearing something from the culture, and somebody who's from that particular culture comes up to you and says, hey, why are you wearing this? Or you're wearing this wrong. Or do you know that this is disrespecting? Or etc., etc., etc. Insert whatever here. Lock your mouth. Open your ears. You have two ears. You know why you have two ears? So you can listen twice as much as you speak. So just listen to what they're saying, absorb it, and then, and also learn. Because again, a lot of people are not abject to people wearing certain things, wearing certain kinds of earrings, wearing certain kinds of jewelry, not abject to that. But if you take the time to understand what the significance of it is and respect it, and then maybe change when you're wearing it or why you're wearing it, you might end up just being a better person tomorrow. I think that's it. Bye. Stop appropriating culture.
Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea Moni and I am the creator of Ubuntu Talks. So, first and foremost, I would just like to thank each and every single person for all the support, for the likes, for the subscriptions, for the sharing. Ubuntu Talks has expanded and it is now a website. So, under the website, we have Ubuntu Talks, Ubuntu Reads, and Ubuntu Writes. Ubuntu Talks is going to stay the same, weekly uploads of videos. Meanwhile, Ubuntu Reads is going to be weekly uploads of book recommendations that my team and I think are worth reading. And Ubuntu Writes, as the verb suggests, is going to be weekly articles and poetry to inspire you, to keep you entertained, and just keep sharing, keep subscribing, keep liking. Thank you, thank you, thank you.